Welcome to the Spokesman-Review's Northwest Passages Book Club today. We have two very special women with us today. We have Regina Malveaux, who is the CEO of the YWCA, and then we also have Dana Morris, who is head of philanthropy. And so we are going to be talking about the YWCA's work in Spokane, and they have an upcoming event this week. So we'll be hearing about that as well. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes, of course. So let's start off with just talking about what the YWCA does in Spokane.
Absolutely. So the mission of the YWCA is eliminating racism, empowering women, and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. What most people are familiar with are the victim services that we provide here in Spokane. So the YWCA Spokane operates this region's 24-hour domestic violence helpline and offers free services to support victims, including advocacy-based counseling, therapy, work readiness, 24-hour emergency shelter. We have locations both in the city of Spokane and in Spokane County, and offering homeless assistance to prevent homelessness for victims of intimate partner violence. So really a vast array of services for survivors, but then we also operate 4 locations of the Early Childhood Education and Assistance Program, which is kind of like the state of Washington's version of Head Start. So we have about 120 amazing 4-year-olds who are part of the YWCA family as well. So that's kind of the breadth of our human services work. And as I said, that is the work that I think most people are most familiar with, and what the YWCA's kind of expert niche is known for here in Spokane. But more recently, people have become more familiar with the social justice aspect of our work related to eliminating racism and or working to eliminate racism and looking at other social justice issues. So that's kind of the breadth of our work.
Yeah. So you just did an equity challenge last month. So can you talk a little bit about that and how did that go?
Absolutely. Well, it was called the 14-Day Racial and Social Justice Equity Challenge. And we had actually been planning the challenge for the month of July. And then when the death of George Floyd and the focus on racial inequity really came to the forefront in our nation's consciousness, we decided that it was important to move that challenge to June, particularly because so many people were wanting to better understand the issues and kind of how we got here. I think those of us who are members of the Black community have known and understood these issues for a long time. Probably more people have not. And so really appreciated how hungry people were for more information and wanting to better understand some of the challenges and, more importantly, what they might do to help eliminate them. And so I think that this moment in time has given us an opportunity to step into the first prong of our mission in a way that we probably have not here in Spokane heretofore.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about those issues in Spokane. What are some of those resources you've been able to provide for people kind of seeking to educate themselves on racial justice and equality, and what has the response looked like as well?
Yeah, so the 14-Day Equity Challenge is based on a research-based model put together. I'm ashamed to say I don't remember the university, but we took that. It actually it's originally formulated as a 21-day challenge. We fine-tuned it to 14 days and really focused on some of the topics that folks were helping us understand that they really wanted to more deeply understand. And I think we anticipated, having significant interest and a lot of folks from our usual supporter base participating, but we had over 700 folks, mostly from Spokane, but also from other areas register for the challenge. And the challenge basically sent an email every day with an opportunity to learn in depth about a particular topic. And then what's wonderful is all of those topics are now housed on our website, ywcaspokane.org. So anyone interested in learning more and diving into that information can just go to our website and probably type in the search bar challenge, and that blog page that is housing that information is accessible.
And so with COVID, I know there has been a significant shift in your advocacy work, especially with the call line, and you offer a text line as well.
Correct.
So what has that shift looked like for you all? What are the changing needs of survivors right now?
Well, I have to tell you, the first few days after we closed our main building, of course, our 24-hour emergency shelters have continued to operate. As they always have. And even though the YWCA is an essential business, I think in the interest of the safety of both our staff and clients, we thought it most prudent to close our main location and move all of those services remotely. And I think that I had some concern that victims would not be able to or choose to access services as readily as they typically would in person. And I think we have been pleasantly surprised that we still have a pretty significant number of folks. So our numbers are very comparable to what they typically are. And so it seems that folks are still reaching out who need help, and all of our services have remained available. So that has been that's been something we're really proud of, and really grateful that victims continue to take advantage of those services.
So when a victim reaches out, be it on the text line or calling, there are really wraparound services offered through you guys. Can you talk about some of those other services and ways that people can get help just after that initial call?
Absolutely. So in the initial call, what takes place is one of our advocacy-based counselors or counselors at the shelter really talk through what a victim is experiencing. There's always safety planning as part of that call, and then really helping introduce that victim to what options and or resources might be available to him or her. And so those resources often include access to our legal services, which include both legal advocacy, which assists victims with protection orders and helping support them through the court process when there is a domestic violence protection order involved. And then we also have family law attorneys who assist with, of course, things like divorce, child care, or child custody, parenting plans, et cetera. And then we have a really extraordinary counseling team who, which includes therapists both for adults and kiddos to really help families move through the trauma that they've experienced. And then we know that economic challenges oftentimes are at the root of a victim's decision to stay and feel like he or she doesn't have the freedom to leave the violence in the home. And so our Women's Opportunity Center really works to help empower women to either get back in the workforce or move up in the workforce. And so that kind of is the breadth of our services around supporting victims. And then, as I said, serving about 120 amazing kiddos, helping get them ready for preschool. We know that kiddos, and that program serves kiddos who live in families who live at 110% of the poverty line or below. And so ECAP is also very much a wraparound program that helps not only prepare kiddos for school, but helps prepare their parents to support them through their school journey.
Mm-hmm. And so one thing that's going on right now, I think we've all kind of forgotten about a little bit, but the census is it's still happening. So why is that so important to your work? And, how does that kind of change things?
So critical. The YWCA here in Spokane in particular, our work is supported about 65% by state, federal, and local grants, and then also some private foundation grants. But as you probably know and kind of have alluded to, is those resources really are determined based on the census. And so critical for folks to participate. And in fact, I know that there's a link on our website as well. The YWCA USA has put together a really extraordinary campaign that some of our staff have helped implement locally. I know that we're part of a coalition working locally around census work. Anovia was a great supporter in helping fund that work. And so, yeah, what we really know is that the resources that the families that we support need are very much dictated by the results of the census.
Yeah. And so when it comes to coming out of this pandemic, I mean, we're not there yet, but coming out of this pandemic and people's lives have really changed for the last 6.5, 7 months. What are your fears for these women and people you serve? And kind of what are you hoping to work towards these next, I guess 6 months?
I want to say that we work hard not to live in a fear-based world and to try very hard to be optimistic. Having said that, we know that the reality are so many of the families that we serve were already struggling financially. We're already struggling financially and living, at or below the poverty line. And we certainly know that the pandemic has hit most everybody in our economy. And so I think that's probably one of our biggest concerns is families just being able to stabilize financially. We also do know that as stressors on any family increase, the increased likelihood of conflict and or violence can be a reality. So I think that is also of concern. I think one of the things that all of us have taken note of is, and Spokane is known for this anyway, really coming together to be supportive of one another. So I think that during the pandemic, that's one of the really special things that we've seen is how the community and then just individual, citizens within the community are stepping up to really check on and help their neighbors. We were so grateful and so surprised by just the onslaught of unsolicited support that the YWCA received in the first few weeks of the pandemic. So, the Anovia Foundation, many corporate supporters who were already supporters of ours, but who just, again, provided just unsolicited financial support. Dana can talk a little bit more about that. And then many of our individual supporters as well, just really recognizing that the families that we serve were going to have increased needs. And so, again, I think just seeing how, as humans, we've all come together to try to get through something that certainly none of us have ever experienced and hope to never experience again, and certainly to come out of sooner rather than later. So, so I think, again, those are our concerns, but we have a pretty significant amount of optimism as
Yeah.
well.
So Dana, could you talk maybe a little bit about that support that you have received kind of at the beginning of this pandemic and how that has kind of shaped your year so far?
Like Regina said, we've had just an amazing continued support from the corporations and organizations in Spokane that have supported us in the years past, have come through, some with the same funds as years prior, and some with even additional funds, realizing that COVID was going to have an increased impact on us. So yeah, we're very, very, very grateful, and not only organizations but individuals as well have continued to stick with us through this year, which we are extremely grateful for.
And so have you seen an increased need? Has that really?
Our need has continued. We've been an essential business since day one of COVID and have continued to remain open to our community as needed. We did go virtual 100% at one point in time, but have since to open our doors again. And so our financial needs continue to be the same, even though some of our virtual or our events that we normally would have in person with people have been canceled. The background that I'm sitting in right now is actually a picture from last year's evening in Tuscany, that we will not be able to have in person this year. We will be doing that one virtually. So,
so let's talk about this virtual event that's coming up on Thursday.
yes.
So yeah, what can people expect, and kind of what's the purpose of the event, and yeah.
Well, we've been doing this event for like 14 years. It was initially started to be a Italian dinner and wine celebration in support of our safe shelters. And it has turned into a much larger event. Last year, we moved it out to Beacon Hill Catering and we had about 400 people attend. Our goal is to raise about $100,000 on this event each year. Our goal for this particular year is $92,000, and we're about halfway there. We've turned it into a full month campaign as opposed to a one evening campaign, and I think that's one of the key things that's going on at this point in time, is that we need to look broader at all the ways to raise funds during this COVID time. So we're very, very excited, and it is Thursday evening at 5:45.
And so you kind of mentioned earlier that anybody can tune in. And so what can people kind of expect to see and learn if they do want to tune in on Thursday?
Absolutely. We have some amazing partners, Numerica Credit Union and MultiCare, who've come together to co-sponsor this event. And then we have some amazing volunteer effort that's been given to us by Hamilton Studios and by Beacon Hill Catering. And so we are going to be doing this event live from Hamilton Studio on Thursday evening. There will be opportunity for to enjoy a scratch-made Italian dinner from Beacon Hill Catering, complete with barrister wine from our own Greg, and then take part in an interactive online paddle raise. Currently, we have a silent auction up and running right now that you can go and see on our website at YWCASpokane.org. And we will have some live auction items, really amazing live auction items. We have this beautiful diamond necklace that was donated to us by Johnson's Jewelers, Custom Jewelers downtown. We have a lot of very special art, which we always have every summer, but we'll be showing that online as well. Some trips, a trip to Mallorca, a trip to anywhere that you'd like to fly. You can kind of design your own trip, when you want to go and where you want to go. All kinds of fun things like that. So you'll see that, and then you'll see our campaign continue through July 31st.
Okay. And so you had mentioned kind of the safe shelter, that this event kind of focuses on benefiting the safe shelter. So has the shelter been full lately during COVID? What has that kind of looked like? And has there been an increased need?
Yeah. I'm going to give this to Regina in a second. I just wanted to say it started originally to be an event for the safe shelter. It is now expanded and grown to support the entire agency. And yes, the shelter has been full, and I'll let Regina expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, so I was just going to say the same thing. Both our city and valley shelters have been full. I think we were surprised by that. I think that we anticipate. Well, actually, I think the first couple of weeks we were lower in residents than typically, and I think that's because everybody was just adjusting to what kind of a new scary world looked like. But as I said earlier, I really, really appreciate that victims did continue to realize that we were there and did start to reach out. And so we have been full in both shelters. I know that there's been a national conversation about the potential for increased violence, particularly while there was a stay-at-home order. Actually, here in Spokane, we did not find that to be the case. We work closely with the Spokane Police Department as part of the Spokane Family Justice Center, which is located here. at the YWCA, and we were tracking those numbers every week. And the numbers of reported domestic violence incidents did not increase. Certainly, there's no way to know for sure whether that was truly indicative of whether the rates of domestic violence stayed stable or whether it was just a lack of reporting, which is more likely the case. But yeah, so that's kind of what we saw.
And so when the shelter is full, I know you guys kind of take it upon yourselves to find other options for people, move it to overflow. What has that looked like?
Absolutely. So we never turn away any victim that's in imminent danger, and we have a strong relationship with hotel partners. So if both of our shelters are full, well, before both of our shelters are full, we always work with a victim to try to identify what other options might be available. And so it might be that our helping pay for transportation out of the area if they have a safe place to go, but just need some assistance in getting there is one option. But we have a good relationship with some local hotels where we place victims when there's no room at the inn per se.
Yeah. And so with all of that, it sounds like there's a lot of ways to still get involved if you are busy Thursday and can't attend the fundraiser, or if you can't monetarily donate. It sounds like there might be some other ways to get involved. So
Absolutely. There is a wish list of ongoing needs at the shelter that is always posted on our website, and we really appreciate it. And actually, it's an Amazon wish list, and that seems to be a really easy way for a lot of folks who want to provide support in that way. And then certainly in a post-COVID world, we always appreciate those who volunteer with us, whether that's helping out in Our Sister's Closet, which is our free boutique that supports both women in the shelter and those who are, as we talked about, trying to get back into the workforce. Dana talked about our 3 events, which always are so successful as a result of the huge volume of volunteer support that we receive. So typically there are many options, both financial and otherwise, for folks to get involved in our work, and those can also be found on the website.
And Dana, what, is there kind of a way for people to still engage after the event is over on Thursday?
Yes, absolutely. If you go to YWCASpokane.org, there's an opportunity to take a look at the entire Tuscany campaign, which includes the silent auction, the paddle raise, simply a donation. And today is the last day to actually make a donation and receive a Italian dinner for 4 people that will be, you can pick up on Thursday. We're going to be submitting our final numbers for that to Beacon Hill Catering tomorrow morning. So if you get a chance, it's a delicious meal, just absolutely delicious. So you don't have to cook, and you bring it home and it's reheated, and you can turn on, YWCA.org at 5:45 and watch all the fun. It's going to be a really, really fun event this year.
Yeah, and it sounds like a really nice chance to feel connected, even if you can't, all be together.
And to make a big difference. We need everybody in the community that we can get to help us out to make our goals and continue to support the women, children, and families in Spokane that need us the most.
Well, thank you so much, ladies, for taking the time out of your morning to share with us about what's coming up and what it's been like the last few months. I know both of you mentioned a few times, but you can go to the YWCA website to check out Evening in Tuscany that's coming up this week, and also just what they are constantly doing in the community. So
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for giving us the opportunity. We appreciate you.
All right.